Welcome, mountain bikers. It's another every other Wednesday, and it's the Inside Line podcast from Vital MTB. We'll keep this one quick, because I hope you're ready to fanboy out with me as I speak to Gee Atherton, one of my favorite downhill racers. This Vital MTB Inside Line podcast is brought to you by Jensen USA. Shop for great deals and get professional advice on your favorite bikes, components, and riding gear. Over 2 million happy cyclists served since 1994. Visit jensenusa.com/the Inside Line podcast and use code INSIDELINE for 10% off qualifying items. Maxxis Tires, where the rubber meets the dirt. Maxxis makes no compromise tires for any rider, any trail, anytime.
Very close.
You can't cough either. That's not allowed.
Oh, that should be fine.
Yep. While I twist some knobs and get some levels going, tell us what it was like to come around a corner in Laguna to have some Grom just sitting in the middle of the trail.
Oh my god. I was more surprised than he was, I think. I remember coming over this crest and seeing the fear in this kid's eyes, but a big grin at the same time. So I laid it into a bush. I went down hard.
Did you hit him at all?
No. I think there was a little jump, and in the air I saw him, so I couldn't brake because I obviously wasn't on the ground. But I saw there was a bit of a bush, so luckily as I landed, I managed to fall to the left, and he dove to the left as well. But it was lucky that there was a bush there to stop me. Otherwise, because he was pushing up, the stem of my bike was head height.
Oh,
I would have just cut him in half.
It's so nuts. He had that look that I just almost died, but
yeah.
It's pretty cool. It was Gee Atherton that
I peered through the bushes and he was lay there grinning, lay on the floor.
That's awesome. Did he get anything out of it? Give him some stickers, a shirt?
No, I didn't. I just shook his hand and said sorry and, cracked on. I don't really think anything of it.
Cool. All right, you ready? Get
this
man. Done?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm stoked you made the time. I appreciate you making the time, especially after had to stalk you on Instagram a little bit to get you going.
I'm sorry that you had to hustle me.
No, that's all right. But, yeah, I'm really stoked to get you on the mic, and I feel like I'm kind of fanboying out here right now because I've known you a while, and I feel like with what Clay and what Sven have done over the years that I've been there too, living the races and stuff with you.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen you we talked about it since 2009, 2010, but it's good to be here in person, so appreciate the time.
No, at all, man.
Yeah, so I'll run through a little intro and yeah, we'll get going. Okay,
cool.
Pretty painless. Welcome, Vital MTBers. This is Sean Spomer. It's the Inside Line podcast. And like I said, I'm fanboying with downhill destroyer Gee Atherton. We're in San Diego right now. How you doing?
Good to be here, man.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Well, it's preseason training. That's the official title.
Yeah.
Gym work, road riding, but really we come to escape the British weather and get some time on the mountain bike, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little mini frat house. Everyone's just hanging out, riding bikes.
Yeah, I mean, we've done these kind of pre-season training camps for quite a long time, and they kind of differ each year. Sometimes we're here, the whole team's out here, the coach is here, it's intense, we're pushing hard, we're kind of working every day on these little details that we feel like we need to work, and some years it's less intense, and this year it's kind of us, a bunch of other riders, just some mates out here riding every day, getting some training done, and just kind of having a good time.
Cool. Do you prefer it the way it is now, or do you like the more intense version?
To be honest, I don't mind either. They're different ways of getting the same outcome, really. I'm not one of these people that needs the coach here to make sure I'm working hard every day. Even this trip, we've been up early every morning, riding and training every day, and I know what I need to do to get ready for a race season, and it's just a case of getting it done, really. If you're enjoying it and having fun along the way, I think that's that's just an extra.
Okay, cool. What I usually do with these is kind of go into, history of how you got riding bikes, where you came from, all that. I feel like you and your family are kind of publicized enough that's been done, especially through, like with Clay and like all the projects you guys have done. So I kind of want to just dive in, especially with World Cup season looming. Let's kind of dive into what happened last year, like 2017, because it's kind of a rough year, right?
Yeah, God, it was, yeah. Pretty rough.
Yeah. Want to just kind of give us the breakdown of, say this time last year through the season?
Well, to me, it's kind of split into 3 parts, I guess. It's obviously the start of the season, pre-season, where everything was going great. We were strong. We were testing with Trek and with Fox. Training had gone really well. I felt fast on the bike. Early races that we'd done in the season were going well. The times were right there, and I felt like I was really ready for a good year. And then obviously the next part was kind of mid-season, the British round at Fort William, where we were testing a new bike, and unfortunately I went down hard in a big crash and then ended up dislocating my hip. But at that point, well, up until that point, it was going well. I'd qualified fastest at the British round. Me and Danny had been battling all weekend, and this was the final of the British round on Sunday afternoon. Where we were kind of both battling for that kind of going into the Fort William World Cup with the British round to our name. So,
yeah, okay.
Whilst it's only a small British round, it's still meant a lot to me. So I was pushing on, and unfortunately, a small mistake on my behalf meant a big crash at the top of the track, and going down hard and dislocating my hip. And
it was pretty severe, right? I remember hearing about it, and people like, oh, he'll be off for a couple weeks, and then like, no, it may be a season killer. Like, what?
Well, it was there's no good way to dislocate your hip,
Yeah.
But basically I went from thinking the same, maybe 5 or 6 weeks off until I could get back on the bike, to the doctors telling me, no, this is a bad injury. 6 months, could be a year. You're going to struggle here. So at that point, I was thinking, bloody hell, this is a bit worse than I thought. But luckily, we had a good team around us. We had a good team of people that knew what to do in that situation, and who to see and where to go with it. So they kind of hustled it along, and we worked hard. I was back in physio as soon as possible, and it meant that I could get back for the last half of the season, which was incredible.
Yeah, which was super nuts. I remember hearing that. Like, what race did you come back at? I forget. I'm sorry.
It was Lenzerheide. First race back.
Yeah, and thinking like when it first happened that like you were gone for the whole year, maybe world champs, you'd come back or something.
Yeah.
But if you're able to qualify, but yeah, you came to Lenzerheide, and the team's in place. You said, what did you do? Like, what? Who's in place, and like, how do you know that? Okay, this is possible versus just let's take it easy and wait for the next year.
Well, I had an operation, and they went in and they looked around, and the doctor was like, you've been quite lucky here. There's damage, but there's not a huge amount of damage. And he was kind of he was at that point still on that kind of 6 months to a year side of the fence. Yeah. But I saw our physio and the guy that takes care of all that, and he said, look, it's bad, but there's no reason why, if you can kind of deal with it and you can make it work, that you couldn't get back on a bike this year. And as soon as he said that, I was thinking, yeah, this is what I'm thinking. This is where I want to be. And it was like as soon as he said that, it was like him starting a clock and being like, right, let's see how quick we can do this.
Yeah.
And I think I surprised myself, like how keen I was to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strange because I've raced God knows how many years and never missed any World Cups. Last year was the first, with that injury, it was the first World Cups I've missed. So sat at home, watching the live feed all on my own with the whole team been out there, still on the group chat, listening to what's going on. I was shocked at how bad I missed it and how gutted I was that I wasn't there,
Yeah.
And that just drove me, just pushed me.
Yeah. And so was there, like prior to realizing you could come back, mid-season possibly, like did it ever get to a point of like, is this it? Or did you know you'd be fine and keep trying to go for this year or something?
No, the only time I was kind of over it was literally when I was on the floor at Fort William at the top of the hill, like lay there waiting for the medics to turn up, my hip hanging out its socket, my head all concussed as can be, feeling like death. And I remember just being lay there like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I don't normally get that, I've not had that very many times, but I had it then, and I was like, it's not worth it. I'm over it. Don't want to ride anymore.
Yeah.
But it was short-lived, and I think that's just your body's way of dealing with bad injuries, because it needs a coping mechanism, so to speak.
Okay.
It only lasted like a couple of days, and then it was back to me. And when can I ride again?
Cool.
But I got back on the bike like 2 weeks before Lenzerheide, just out on a trail bike, and within about half an hour of that first trail bike ride, I was like, yeah, I'm going to try and race again. This feels fine.
Really? Yeah. Like were there nerves kind of just like?
Not really. No. It felt. It didn't feel great at all, and even by Lenzerheide, I was still struggling to ride and was pretty weak, but I knew I could ride still, and get down on World Cup track just about.
Yeah, did all right. Always good to see you back for sure. Like, it seems like you've had to come back from injury a lot, and you have the, like the infamous Mount St. Anne KO. Did you win the next day after qualifying? You won, right?
No.
You get third?
I was podium. I can't remember how I did,
Yeah, but just like you've had a couple of stories like that, right?
Yeah,
where you just get obliterated and then you come back. Like, what is... does that stuff help you? Does it motivate you if you...
No, not at all. I would I would be no worse off if I'd not had any of that, but it just seems to be a part of it, It's not like that's what's made me and that's what's kind of built me into who I am or anything. Those crashes suck, and if I hadn't had any of them, I would be, better for it. But
yeah,
when you race downhill mountain bikes for a living, and done it for the length of time I have, it's going to be a part of it. I think it's just my approach to the way I ride in the sport has always been to kind of to press on, and the crashes have always been a part of it. So I've always tried to kind of keep myself in a state where I could take the crashes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times where you can't.
Yeah, because they're brutal. Do you think about it at all? When you're pinning it through a gnarly section, like, or is it just a mindset that you're going?
No, I do think about it. It's definitely there. I've never been one of these riders that kind of just kind of unplugs the brain and doesn't think about the risk. Like even when I started out, I knew the risk was there. But for me, it's just always been a case of I've been able to deal with it fine, and it's always just been something that's there and something that I've just learned to ride with. But I think it's always been a bit of a running joke, my kind of within the team, the crashes that I can have and just kind of come back from.
Huh.
I guess it's happened too many times to ignore that.
I feel like that's why I'm a fan of yours, because I feel like there's this sort of pretty rad balance of being like, you seem precise, focused, like really sharp, but then you'll just go like buck wild down the track, and sometimes that stuff happens. Like, I don't feel like a lot of people that seem as sort of precise and driven as you will let it get that rowdy, and so it comes back into something super exciting. I feel like
yeah, I don't know.
Is it a perception that like you have this perception on off the track of being a certain way, but on trail you're like in your head you feel a different way? Is that
possibly? Yeah, it could be that. I think I definitely I do give out that kind of persona of being very calculated and knowing exactly what I'm doing, but that's not always the case for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, not through, not on purpose. It's not like I'm really kind of want to appear this way, or, it's just, I think I am quite calculated, and I am quite, I do try and kind of weigh up the risks, but sometimes you just have to kind of let go and crack on. And I think that's the nature of our sport, really. I think, I do try to limit it, because obviously I don't like pounding myself into the floor. I mean, it probably looks differently, but I don't enjoy it. But it's something I just know that it's got to be done. I think you have to ride on the edge,
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I do love it. I love that feeling of, when it all goes wrong and then you kind of save it and pull it back, and you think, wow, that could have been terrible, but I saved it. I've ridden out of it. That's such an amazing feeling. But sometimes you don't save it.
You don't look for those feelings necessarily, like look for those moments.
No, I don't. They come to me. I don't actively hunt them,
Yeah.
But they come to you. Yeah, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, kind of talking about how, I feel like you present yourself as precise and kind of calculated. I feel like sometimes people give you, like, you get a bad rap, like you're misunderstood as too serious, too focused. And every time I've been around you, which, it's not a lot, like, I don't feel like, I know you're serious about what you do, but you seem super approachable. Do you hear those things, or kind of have, any thoughts about being misperceived? Or
I think I've just got a miserable face. I think when I'm sitting around just like not doing anything, my face just looks a bit angry and miserable. I think that might be a part of it, No, I don't know. I think, when I'm at races, I like to. I think I do like to concentrate and focus and try and kind of deal with the job in hand. But sometimes I guess maybe I can be a bit serious sometimes. But I've always been aware that I don't want to kind of put a front on, and you do see at races a lot of people putting a front on differently to what they actually are, and I've always been conscious of not wanting to do that,
how so? Like, just being...
I don't know, I think people are often quite keen to be seen a certain way, or it's quite important for them that people perceive them to be, having a lot of fun all the time, or, they've got to be, they don't want to be taken too seriously, But I've always been aware that I'm happy with people seeing the real me, I don't mind. I don't feel like I want to kind of put on this fake front. I'm happy for people to see how I am, and kind of just like it or not. I don't really mind.
If you have a bad day, let it show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's, when I've raced for a long time, there's definitely been times where I would have been better off just kind of going home after the race and not speaking to someone. But when you've got bad feelings or you're in a bad mood, I should have known not to do interviews sometimes. But
tell Sven to beat it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not always the case, And it's fine though. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You can't expect everyone to like you, right?
Yep. It's true. And you didn't get in this to be a public figure, did you? You get in it because you liked racing bikes and wanted to win, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm here because I love riding my bike and I want to go fast. And I think we have always pushed ourselves and kind of made ourselves this public figure and put ourselves out there and kind of welcomed people in to look into our lives. So,
yeah, that's true.
That's I think you have to accept that. Like, that's all part and parcel of it,
Yeah. Kind of speaking to that, let me bring up the question here. Did things like Atherton Project or, the projects you work on that do let people see what's going on, does that complicate what you have to do on the racetrack?
I don't think so, no.
No?
I think, again, it comes down to making sure that it's the real you that people see. If I did have this front I had to always kind of uphold, it would be difficult, because the amount of time that people are looking into our lives, it would be difficult to kind of have a false you out there, But because that's never been the case, it doesn't bother me. And it is sometimes difficult. There are sometimes times where you kind of wished you're a bit more private, but at the end of the day, we're not football stars. It's just mountain biking, so you can deal with it.
Do you get nervous in the start gate?
Yes.
Yeah?
Actually, no, not in the start gate. The start gate isn't where the nerves are. You know, it's I get nervous at races for sure. You know, that lead up to a race is always quite nerve-wracking for me. But, you know, that's just, it reminds me that I want it, and it reminds me that I love it, and it reminds me that I care about it still, you know.
Yeah. And
almost in the start gate, there's almost a sense of, oh, thank God, it's time to do it. It's time to crack on, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Like I think done the work and now's the time.
Yeah, you've spent so long, you know, you spent weeks leading up to the event, watching the track, talking with the team, the setup, working on the bikes, at the event, you know, learning the course, practicing, training, working with the mechanics. You know, it's such a long journey up to each race. Sometimes when you get in the start hut, sometimes you just think, oh, thank God, you know.
Really?
It's time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick. I've never heard an answer like that before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I've found it a few times, you know.
That's really cool. If you have a bad qualifier, does that make finals easier? Like kind of mind eraser? Or would you rather have be first kind of thing? Like first, you know, then last down the hill?
No, I think I like to know I'm fast.
Okay.
You know, certain guys work a different way. I think, you know, you do see some people like to take the pressure off themselves, kind of ease themselves through the weekend and then just explode everything onto the race run. But I like to try and get up to speed as soon as possible and, you know, do a fast timed run, do a fast qualifier, so I know the speed's there. And I think it comes down to that, enjoying going fast down the hill, you know. Sometimes you cruise all weekend and then do one run in your race run. You don't enjoy it as much. You know, I like to do 3 runs and then time training, bang out some fast runs and, you know, get up to speed, because it's those fast runs on the racetrack that you enjoy, and that's when the special moments come, you know.
Yeah.
So I like to do them as early as I can, really.
Do you have any kind of like routine to get up to speed, especially if it's a course you're not really familiar with?
I think I adapt quite well to new courses, and I do seem to respond well to them. You know, I've had some of my better results at the first time at venues, and I don't know why that is, but it's always been the way. I think I just enjoy that process of getting to a track, trying to find the fastest way down it, and then seeing when I can do that run, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's all about the detail. It's all about knowing that course inside out, knowing the bike, knowing what the bike's going to do, knowing what the course is going to do when it's had this many riders over it, knowing what your bike's going to do if you blow offline and end up on this line. And
so you think about that. You think about, if a mistake happens here, how do I handle it?
Yeah, definitely. And
not just I'm sticking to my line and whatever happens. Like
yeah, I think you need to know the course, so that if you don't end up on this line and you do end up over here, you know what's going to happen. Obviously, it's hard to know the whole course in detail. You can't always have a reserve line, but you do. You know, the more you know about the course, the better, really. And also looking ahead, you know, when you do that first run down on the Friday, thinking what's this course going to do come Sunday afternoon? You know, what's this turn going to be like with a few hundred riders over it that many times?
Yeah.
So it's just about the detail, I think.
Yep. Are there any courses that are more challenging or more frightening for you than others? You know, like Val de Sol versus Fort William. I understand they're different and they're both bigger. Like Val de Sol versus Leogang or something. Like,
well, not for any other reason other than what's happened in the past, but Fort William and Mont Saint Anne seem to be the ones that beat me up pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because of. I don't know. I can't really say why. Like, I love Fort William. Maybe it's just the sheer amount of times I've raced there that I've had quite a few injuries from there. I think it's just quite an unforgiving place. You know, I've had some really good results there, and that's definitely kind of always been a high point in my career when I've done well there. But also, when it goes wrong there, it goes wrong pretty bad.
It gets pretty sideways.
It's just rocky, unforgiving mountain that when you crash on, you go down hard.
Yeah.
Same with Mont Saint Anne. You know, I've had some big ones there, but I seem to seem to adapt well to most courses. You know, there's never really been a course I've hated or couldn't get on with.
Okay.
You know, someone like Val de Sol, I've had good results there, and I've always loved racing there. And
Yeah.
you know, it couldn't be more different to someone like Fort William. But I think I've always adapted quite well to different courses. You know.
Yep. Okay. So like, if there's a course you might think you said you don't dislike any courses, but if there's one you're not that excited about, do you just put that out of your head? Like, you've got to race it. There's no choice. So
yeah, I think I'm there for the race, and it's the race that I enjoy, and it's the event, you know, which is why we're all there. You know, I wouldn't enjoy going to Leogang and just riding that track.
Okay.
But it's a World Cup, and once you're pressing on and trying to go fast down it, that kind of makes it into something else. But yeah, that's probably one of the ones I enjoy less.
Got it. Just deal, right? And I mean, I get the impression that, like, yeah, easy to ride, but it sounds like it's hard to race, and times are always tight, and they're tricky things. Do you feel like that's an important thing to have in the World Cup, is kind of this variety of conditions like that? Or do you wish they were all just steep and smashy?
No, I think a variety is definitely key. You know, I've always said you can take a World Cup to an average track, and the riders make it good. You know, they'll make it hard, they'll make it fast, they'll make it so they're riding on the absolute limit. So you don't always need super steep, gnarly, wild course, but you know, I think, you know, I can see why we have to go to some of the tamer courses, because you know, it's about making it an event that can go to anywhere in the world. I'd like to see more events, if anything, but I think a variety is key.
Okay. Do you know, when you say more, 10, 15, like, do you have a number that you think would be fun?
Yeah,
or
I think 10's realistic. You know, I think we're not going to suddenly be able to jump to like doubling the amount of events we do, because you know, there's reasons why there aren't more events. But yeah, I'd like to see it grow. Yeah. That's always been quite a big part of what we do. You know, trying to not just promote ourselves, but promote the sport and help the sport grow a little bit. And it's quite cool seeing that it is now. You know, it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Do you feel like the UCI is doing a good job in that respect, or is it outside, like Red Bull and things that you're doing, that are kind of making the difference?
Yeah, it's not the UCI. They're certainly not they're not really pushing the sport. You know, what they do is it's ticking over with them. They're kind of happy for it just to carry on as it is. But yeah, for sure, it's the riders. You know, it's people like Red Bull who are pushing and pushing, that take it to a new audience, that kind of bring people in that otherwise didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. You know, the sport's so much more accessible now to what it was years ago, because of people like Red Bull, and you know, all the riders are so good at it now. All the riders, because it's not a sport that's kind of sanctioned by all these governing bodies. You know, the riders have to make their own money, they have to make their own way, and they're all really good at kind of promoting themselves and pushing themselves and the sport, and that's kind of why mountain biking is growing. Well, downhill mountain biking is growing so fast. I think, you know, everyone's kind of pushing it and helping it to grow so much. It's quite cool to see. Yeah,
it seems like it's doing pretty well that way. Was there any deal or sponsorship thing that, you know, you and your family made that just kind of put you over the top and were like, yeah, we've made it, like, this is a career we can follow? You know, was there any kind of super signing moment like that?
Like a kind of turning point type thing?
Yeah, I guess. Or any just, go with the turning point.
Or do you mean like a kind of...
Or just like one big massive one, you're like, holy shit, we got this. Like, okay, and now we get to do what we want to do, you know?
No, to be honest, there wasn't. It's always... You know, people have asked me a few times, you know, was there a defining moment where you suddenly kind of realised you could do it? And I don't think there was, to be honest. For me, well, for all of us, I don't think it was ever kind of... You know, we didn't grow up wanting to be pro mountain bikers and dreaming of making a living doing it and dreaming of making money racing bikes, because, you know, when we were young, we were riding bikes just because we loved it. And then when we started racing, we just did whatever we could that meant we could keep racing. And it was probably, it was a good few years into actually earning some okay money before I even realised, like, I do this as a job now and I do this for a living.
Yeah.
It was...
Do you know when that was? Like, kind of what year you sort of had that?
Not really. It kind of crept up on me. It kind of... It was one of those things that I just suddenly realised was happening, after it happened, I guess. It wasn't like it was suddenly a moment where it turned around.
Mm-hmm.
I guess looking back on it, obviously winning my first World Cup was quite a turning point. Doing well at the first Rampage I did, I think that was quite a turning point.
That was that 05 or 06 when you were in the white and red animal
I think so,
kit,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I was there and being blown away. I'm like, holy crap, you could ride this stuff? Like, no way.
Well, I turned up the first year to do it and was all excited for it and did my first qualifying run and set out the start gate like it was a race run. Lasted about 15 seconds, blew myself to pieces and had to go to hospital. So I went back the next year a bit calmer and a bit more calculated, and it seemed to pay off,
Yeah, that's sick.
But even then, I wasn't out there trying to show the world what I could do and hunting for sponsorship. I was out there because it was amazing to do, and I was amazed that someone had put on such a wild event and we were allowed to do such a cool thing.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask, was that a choice you made, or was Red Bull like, hey, we'd really like you to come out here and do this, and you're like, I don't know?
No, because I was nothing to do with Red Bull then. It was
pre-Red Bull.
It was pre-Red Bull, and I was
Muddy
just
Fox, and
exactly.
Yeah, uh-huh.
A guy I know had kind of had a word with Todd Barber and said, look, this kid can ride a bike. Is it okay if he has a go at it? And Todd, being a good guy, said yes, and that, he gave me a chance to try and show everyone what I could do. And for me, it was just a case of seeing how gnarly we could get on our bikes and seeing how brave we could be. So I did well and kind of lucked out, and I think that kind of pushed me into a few people's kind of into the spotlight a little bit.
Okay. I want to go back to racing a little bit, but was Rampage gnarlier than racing a World Cup? Or did you feel like it was all within your grasp to ride that way?
Yeah, it didn't feel it. No, it didn't feel gnarlier than a World Cup, because I was amazed that, for me it was quite a cool feeling being able to freewheel out the gate, cruise down the ridge, manual down this line, chill, do a few drifts here and there. It felt quite relaxed.
Huh.
You knew you were coming up to a massive 60-foot step down.
Yeah, did that stress you out?
A little bit, yeah. But I could do it within my own time. I could do it at my own speed, and I'd had a week building it. So
yeah.
But the first time I did something big. I didn't really have the time to. I decided to do it between the two runs. Just tried this big drop, and I didn't have time to kind of prep it and look at it and get nervous about it. So I just kind of did it because I needed a few extra points in my run. So I didn't really realise how gnarly it was until afterwards, looking back on it all.
Yeah. Like the hip sender, wall ride lander thing, that one?
No, it was before that. I don't even know what it was. It was something it was at the first Rampage site, I think. I don't even remember the name of it.
Yeah, okay.
Just some big turn left off a ridge and just pull up.
Yeah.
Fall through the air for a few seconds,
Land in the duff and keep running.
Yeah, try and keep your head off the stem.
Yeah. Do you have any interest in trying to ride that stuff anymore?
I mean, I love riding that stuff, and we still ride that similar stuff at home, but I don't think I'd do Rampage again, because it's morphed into kind of something that isn't really, I'm not going to turn up and throw some tricks down.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing event. I love it. I think it's cool to see, and those guys are all doing an amazing job. But I think for me, it suited me more when there were less tricks involved. I think. Yeah.
Why do you think so few people have won a World Cup downhill? What's the secret?
God, it's bloody hard, I'd say. I think there's just so many variables in downhill mountain biking. It's such a difficult sport to tick all the boxes in and get everything right. I think it's so hard to kind of to have your fitness there, to have your technical side there, to have the bike dialed, have no injuries at the right times. You know, there's so many small areas that you have to have absolutely perfect that, you know, you see riders get 9 out of the 10 boxes ticked, and then there's one thing that trips them up, and it's so frustrating to see, but that's the way it is. And you know, it's very difficult to have everything perfect, and I think that's why you see the same riders doing well, because they've learned how to kind of tick all those boxes, and they've learned how to get everything fast at the same time, you know.
Did you feel like once you got one, it clicked like that? Just there's momentum behind it?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely learn. You know, it's not about learning to go fast, but it's about learning to bring everything on at the same time, you know. It's about learning to make sure your fitness is there, make sure your strength is there, make sure you're avoiding injuries. I guess it's hard to juggle everything at once, but you definitely do learn how to.
Do you guys do any like psychological or like mental training, like specifically?
We have done in the past, yeah. I think it's a huge area for downhill mountain biking.
Can you elaborate on like what it is or what it was, like the training you did?
Well, it's nothing more than learning. You know, for me, it's about, you know, my ideal situation is on that Sunday afternoon on race day when it's your time to go fast. You know, my ideal situation then is just riding how I ride when I'm at home. You know, it's not about elevating myself to this special magical level that's kind of where I don't realise what I'm doing. I'm floating down the hill. You know, if I can just race that race how I ride when I'm at home chilling, you know, that's enough for me. I know that I'm fast enough then to do well.
Yeah.
So it's really just about learning to deal with the pressures that racing puts on you. You know,
okay.
About learning to get in that start gate, knowing the whole world's watching, and knowing that you've got this one chance to do well, and not tightening up and getting nervous and freezing. It's about just learning to chill and ease your way into it, and just ride like you do every time.
Yeah.
So for me, that's always been the way I've kind of looked to deal with it, really.
Okay. So, kind of on that note, when you think about memorable races, like the races you remember most, are they wins? Are all of them wins, or do you have some that really stick out that aren't?
No, definitely not. I mean, I think it's a weird thing that humans have developed to kind of hang on to. You know, sometimes negative feelings are stronger than positive ones. So I've got hundreds of races I remember so vividly for the wrong reasons, but the wins definitely do stand out.
Are there any wins that you don't remember that well?
Yeah, a few. I don't really remember the first one I won.
Yeah.
Which is strange, you know. You would have thought that would be like burnt into your memory. Yeah. I just remember being at the bottom of the hill and everyone going mad that I'd won and not knowing really what to do with myself, you know. I don't remember it as a magical run or a special run. It's just I just rode down the hill like I had been all practice when I've been following my brother down, you know. I remember being at the bottom and everyone patting me on the back and congratulating me, but not really knowing what to do with myself. And I remember standing on the podium for the first time and having no idea what to do.
Could you open the champagne?
God, I didn't know when to open it. I didn't know like when to put my arms in the air, whose hand to shake. Do I spray the champagne and then put my hands in the air? Yeah. What to do when they played the national anthem? I didn't know what to do. I just stood there awkwardly grinning, looking like a dumb 18-year-old.
That's so awesome. What is there any race that always comes to your memory, like the most memorable for you, win or loss or anything? Like, is there one where just
I think winning Fort William with Rach, that stands out pretty well.
Yeah.
I remember just kind of sitting on the hot seat, and then when it clicked over the last rider that I'd won, you know, standing up and seeing this sea of people in front of you just roaring, you know, with shouting your name, and you know, that's an amazing feeling. You know, that energy from that many people feels like it kind of, you feel like you're kind of drawing their energy in, you know. I remember hugging Rach and my family after the event, and it just been like this I remember just thinking like this is too good. You know, it felt like it was too amazing a feeling, and it was a magical moment for sure. It was, you know, when all your family are there and all your friends and it's a home race that you've won. That's a pretty incredible feeling. And I remember thinking like this is why we do it. This is as good as it gets, and that is why you do it. You know.
Yeah.
I think those moments easily cancel out all the bad moments or injuries or failures for sure. But I guess that's the way of the sport. I think that's, you know, the one good moment cancels out the 100 bad moments for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite bikes of the past? Like bikes that, like, you've been on a lot of different bikes, you know, over the handful of years. Like, do any stick out that you got along with and then others you didn't? I'm not trying to get you to like throw people under the bus or anything, but just...
Oh no, for sure. I mean, like you said, I've ridden a lot of bikes. The common styles I always enjoyed riding them.
Yeah, you guys look good on those.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. Yeah, and it was cool. It was cool working with Max because he was so passionate about the racing. You know, we've been with companies where that's not always been the case, and it's been a bit frustrating. And I think with Max, similar to the position we're in now, you know you're with a company that loves racing, and you know you're with people that want to go as fast and they're as passionate about going fast as you are. Yeah. You know, when you turn up to a test session and they're there early in the morning, ready to go, like they want information from you. You know, I love that. Yeah. You know, when you turn up and they're all there waiting, like, what do you think about this bike? What can we do? What can we change? How about we try this? How about we try that? That's such a cool feeling, you know, because that's how we are. Yeah. And that's how we've always been. You know, me and Dan have always been looking for those kind of small improvements. Okay. So when you're with a company that wants to do the same, it's quite refreshing.
Yeah. So you're pretty involved with testing and like feedback. You're not just waiting for them to tell you how to run it and make a minor tweak.
At the moment, you mean?
Just in general, yeah. Like.
Yeah, for sure. No, where we are right now, the guys at Trek, they're very passionate about the racing. And that was clear from the very first meeting we had with them, you know. Like the first test session we ever did. You know, they turned up, there was tyre technicians there, the suspension guys were there, the frame technicians were there. Yeah. You know, they had their clipboards out, stopwatches everywhere. We do a run and they'll be crowded around you, like, what can we do, what can we change? And I remember thinking then, like, this is how it should be, you know. Yeah. This is amazing.
Cool.
And, you know, a few weeks later they'd turn up with the changes that we said. They'd turn up with like a carbon prototype with all the changes we'd said in a carbon race bike ready to go, and that was incredible. We were like, wow, this is amazing. And I thought this was going to take 6 or 7 months, but here we are a month later and it's done.
And it's in carbon.
Yeah. And then there they are again, you know, what can we change? How can this be better? How can we go faster? Yeah. Yeah.
With, you know, I'm assuming you can't give away details or anything, but like what's different about what you're going to do in 2018 to last year? Like, are you riding the big wheels? Because you just showed off the 27.5 and the team launch and everything.
Yeah, the moment so I'm on the 27.5.
I was kind of surprised. So
yeah. We're changing a few things from last year, and a lot of things are staying the same. But, you know, I went into last year feeling good and feeling fast, so, you know, whilst it was a bad season in the end due to some big crashes, it wasn't like we went into last year and we messed everything up and we have to change everything, you know. Right. It was a case of knowing we were fast last year. There were some things we wanted to improve on. A lot of the mistakes last year were my own mistakes. You know, I jumped on the 29 eager to go fast and didn't quite give myself the time to adjust to it and kind of know how the bike would react.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as changes for this year, it's just a case of doing what worked well again, you know, the same as last year, and then what didn't work, we change. I know that's a very vague answer, wasn't it? Sorry.
like, give me every secret you're working on.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, knowing the the season's coming up and Croatia's the first round. Have you seen the helmet cam, or have you even been there or anything to see what the track's like?
No, I've not been there. I've definitely heard a few people have, but I've not. I've seen the head cams and stuff.
Do you have any thoughts on what it's going to be like based on what you've seen and heard?
I think it'll be good. It looks different.
Yeah.
But I think, it's coming back to what we said before, the races will make it good. I think it's not, it wouldn't be my number one kind of choice of venue, but it's cool to go somewhere different and somewhere new.
Yeah.
It's cool to kind of take it to a crowd of people that otherwise might not see down in mountain biking. But yeah, as far as the track, I'm not sure yet. I think it'll be good there.
Okay. Sounds like it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Harsh on equipment.
It looks rough, rocky. I think it'll be a case of getting through it for sure, not blowing things to pieces, which I'm quite good at doing.
Yeah, right. You're down to train, right? Seems like you like being in the gym, making all that work. Is there any part of that you don't like or that you loathe?
Yeah, I hate doing sprints. I hate doing interval training.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal for the racing you do, right?
Which you have to do, yeah. Maybe that's why I hate it, because I know there's no way I'm not doing it. It's just the repetition of it. But I don't mind the training side of it. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's a necessary evil, I think. Yeah, with all the crashes I have as well, it's important to me that I'm strong and fit and healthy, and because I know I go into every year hoping I'm not going to crash, but I know they're coming. They're going to be there, so I've got to be ready to hit the floor and be able to bounce. So
is that what training is for you? Is it, I assume it's for everything, for your fitness, but is it for survival too, so you can take the hits?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but I'd say a big part of what we do is geared towards performance, and a big part of what we do is geared towards avoiding injury. So you've got to be, it's a long season, it's a lot of riding and a lot of racing, so you have to be, it's always important for me to still be there at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the training is important, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. What would you recommend for just an average weekend downhiller, how to train and approach a race? Like, I'm going to go race Big Bear this weekend. What should I do to get ready for that?
Are you actually?
No. No. But if I was. There's snow up there right now.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think it's about giving yourself the best chance to be able to go fast. From a riding point of view, I think it's important not to just focus on the speed. I remember when I was young, someone telling me just to learn to ride my bike well and the speed will come, rather than focusing on trying to ride it fast. And then from a training point of view, I think it's just about being, everyone's different, but you've got to be powerful and you've got to be fast, and there's no point in being super strong if you can't access it straight away. I think downhill mountain biking is very hard to train for, because it's it's such a wide area that you've got to be good at. Like, you've got to be explosive, you've got to be strong, you've got to be able to do it for quite a long time. There's so many little areas that you have to prepare for. It is quite difficult, but every ride is different. But for me, it's always just been about being fast, being powerful, and then obviously being able to bounce off a few trees.
Do you feel like the way like you and Dan and Rach came up helped? Like, it seemed like you're just riding everything, riding jumps, trails, doesn't matter, as opposed to just sort of focusing on gravity only. Like, do you think that's important for kids these days?
Yeah, for sure. And I think you sometimes see a few people make that mistake of just focusing on riding downhill and timing and always kind of trying to go fast. I think it's so important to be able to ride dirt jumps, ride BMX, ride moto, and that's something we've always done and still do. Mm-hmm. I spend a lot of the winter just riding skate park, riding the trials bikes, riding moto, just dicking around in the woods. And I think you see, the best riders have all got that background and that really wide base level of bike handling skills. Back in the day, all the fast riders were riding slalom and four cross and all that other stuff. Yeah. you know, they could ride any bike and ride it well, and I think that's really important.
Yeah. Is there, you know, out of those things you just listed, is there one you like to do the most? Like, would you rather go ride jumps or skate park more than anything?
Always changes.
Yeah.
I think riding dirt jumps is the thing I enjoy the most, you know. I love riding my BMX still. We ride that a lot.
Yeah.
But, you know, English winters don't really lend themselves to
Right,
to much riding trails. So yeah, skate park a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just try and ride as much of everything as I can, because, you know, the wider that base level, the better, really.
Yeah. Do you have an arch nemesis out there? Someone you hate being beaten by?
I don't think so, no. You know, it's always...
You all say the same thing.
Well, it always changes, you know, it always varies. And, you know, always throughout my career, it's always kind of whoever you're battling with and wherever you are, you know, in the field, whether you're at the front battling, you know, with the first, like, 1 and 2, or whether you're mid-pack or, you know, top 10, it always changes. I remember that year I battled with Stevie Smith, you know. We got on well and we were mates, but yeah, we were proper kind of... That was always a point for me where I was like pissed off when he beat me or got close to me, and we'd always be kind of head to head, and, you know, it was an amazing year to have like a battle.
Yeah.
You know, there's been years where it's been Minna as well. You know, we've kind of battled all year, and when I can't remember, maybe 2010 when I kind of won the title and it came down to the last round. That was quite cool. We'd pretty much battled all year for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it always changes, and it depends who it is, you know.
Yeah, cool. Are there like current racers right now that you respect or admire? You know, that you just kind of take note of, even if they're competitive with you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I try to watch what everyone's doing and learn a little bit from everyone, because, you know, when you're not winning, it's a case of asking why not and seeing what other people are doing better. You know, I think certain people, you know, do certain things really well.
Got an example?
I think like Bruni's really good at getting his bike dialed and the setup. You know, they're very strong at that kind of preparation, like learning what the bike's going to do, knowing exactly what the bike's going to do. Gwyn's obviously, I think, you know, his mental side's very strong. He can kind of have an average weekend and then turn it around for race day. And, you know, there's been a few weekends where I've thought, you know, he's going to struggle here, and then race day he's able to turn it around, and you know, that's definitely a mental side. Minar's good at that kind of being able to do it again and again, weekend after weekend. You know, he knows how to race a race season, which is, you know, it's quite a skill. Yeah. So there's definitely people, you know, that are good at certain things, and you know to watch for certain things, you know. Yeah,
sure. With the Red Bull thing, like Loic or Aaron, you guys are all Red Bull, but are you competitors too? Like that, I've always wondered about how that shakes down. Do you have to be boys because you're on the same team that way, or?
Oh no, competitors for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're always, even though they're kind of on the same, your teammates, so to speak. You're still battling with them, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, you know, at World Cups anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like Loic did Red Bull Fox Hunt last year, and it was like chilled. We hung out, rode together, and it was like, it was a different thing, you know. But at World Cup, yeah, you're like watching what they're doing, looking what setup people are running, what tyres everyone's on. You kind of hear rumours about something not working on their bike. Sven will come down and say, so-and-so suspension doesn't look right, that they're struggling with this. Sven's the source of all information at World Cups.
He's the mole, isn't he? For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you enjoy doing stuff like fox hunt and kind of that off-season thing, or is it a bit of a distraction?
Oh no, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I think, you know, I'd like to do more stuff like that. Like doing Red Bull Hardline it's so intense and it's so gnarly, but it's not a World Cup, so for me it's like, you know, it's a breath of fresh air. Fox Hunt's the same. Yeah. You know, you're there and you're riding, and you've still kind of got to get on your bike at the top of the hill, and you're still kind of doing what you do when you're on your bike, you know, pushing hard, and you've got to ride well, and you've got, you know, people are expecting you to be there and expecting you to go fast, and they're watching for that, and you have to do it, but there's no pressure.
Yeah.
For me, it's fun, and sometimes I ride better in those situations, you know.
Yep.
Sometimes I've had a run where I'm at an event like Fox Hunt, I'm on my little trail bike, dicking around, you know, you've been out the night before with the guys, and I've done some of my best riding there, you know, just because it's so chilled out.
Is hardline too hard?
Yes.
That's the point.
Yes, because my brother's an idiot and he's got no sense of self-preservation. No, it's not too hard, but it is bloody hard. I think it's a case of finding that limit. I think the first few years it was pretty close to being too hard.
Yeah.
I think it's a risky thing to do, to give Dan Atherton money, machines, a crew, an entire mountain, and say, let's see what you can do, because inevitably you build something that not many people can ride. Yeah. He's one of the only people. There was stuff at the first hardline that I was like, I'm not doing that, and he would like build it, he would test it, and he would ride it, and I would still be like, we're gonna have to change that.
Really? Like he'd ride it and you'd be like, no, no deal.
There was stuff that Dan Atherton hit and everyone else was like, nah, I'm not doing it. Like, it still to this day amazes me what he can do on a bike. And not only that, but how he can spend like 6 months or 6 weeks digging, dust his bike off, throw his helmet on, and hit such gnarly technical stuff.
Go straight into it.
And go straight in and do it so well. Yeah. But yeah, hardlines, it is bloody hard.
Yeah,
but
that's sick.
That's what people want to see, right?
All right. I don't know if you're ready for a question like this, but it's not that bad. But I'm a dad with 2 chaos-making Groms right now. So what can I do to make sure that my boys have a relationship like you and Dan do? Was there anything that like stuck out, or like you can look back and say like, hey, that's why we're tight and we've done what we've done?
I don't know why, but yeah, God knows. You know, I think for us it was a case of growing up somewhere where we had to make our own fun and make our own kind of entertainment. You know, we didn't grow up in a city where there was, you know, loads of stuff for us to do. I think boredom kind of, when you're young, forces you to be creative, and that was the case for us, you know. Like, we lived in a small village, so there was a small group of friends where we'd hang out every weekend and every evening after school and have nothing to do. So, you know, we'd find some old scrub land, get some bikes that we were like cobbled together. Some weekends it'd be motorbikes, sometimes it'd be BMXs, it'd be whatever we could get our hands on, you know. See how far we could jump it, how far we could kind of keep going till one of us hurt ourselves. You know, for me it was Dan that was always driving that stuff. So he'd be the one that would be like, right, we're going to build a BMX track, or we're going to build a gnarly set of dirt jumps, or we're going to see how far we can jump this motorbike that I've got from God knows where.
And you're just like, okay, let's go.
And I'd just be like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Right.
Never question it, never question whether it was a good idea or not, never worry about whether it was the right thing to do. Just always what we did.
All right, cool. When Dan was racing too, can apply there, but like if you do well and Rachel doesn't, or vice versa, like does that make the race weekend tough? Like, let's say you won and Rachel crashed. Would that make your win less special?
I think so, yeah. That's always been a little bit of, you know, with us 3 racing, it's always been a kind of a risk, you know. Someone else is going to get injured or do badly, and your result kind of gets watered down. But there's been as many times where it's been the other way around, you know, where they've helped you to kind of come on and you've hurt yourself and they've done well and they kind of drag you up. So I guess that's a risk of racing with your siblings. Yeah. It's a strange situation, really. You know, it's been quite, it's a unique experience doing something like this with your brother and sister. Yeah.
What do you think about your career longevity? You thinking about that at all?
Only because people keep asking me about it.
Yeah. Like in your head, you're just like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
racing bikes.
Yeah, I think with last year, the combination of injury and some bad results, I think people automatically were like, maybe you're not going to race again. Maybe you want to stop now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know, it was strange. Suddenly I was like shocked that a few people were asking me that, because it wasn't something that had really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
It's by no means the case that I was kind of thinking about this been the last year or next year been the last year. I want to keep racing. I still feel like I can do well, and I still feel fast, and I still feel strong. I think injury often just. I think when you have a bad injury, it's harder for other people to kind of. Their first thought is you probably don't want to come back and do the same again, because that's the logical thing, But that's not really the case.
Okay.
I'm loving it, And
cool.
I still feel like there's a lot I want to do, and for me, the racing is like I said, when I missed those World Cups last year, I was shocked how bad it made me feel. How gutted I was that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I thought it might have been the case that it was cool to have a bit of time off or miss a few and not have to travel in the middle of the season, but I hated it. I couldn't wait to get back.
Yeah.
And that's still the case. I want to race. I want to go. I want to keep doing this, and I'm with a good team at the moment, and I'm comfortable where I am.
Yeah.
I want to keep pushing.
Sick, dude. It's good. Nude modeling?
Oh, now why would you ask me about that?
It happened, right?
No.
What?
I did something for a magazine for a charity once where they wanted me to take my clothes off for a photo shoot. So I did it.
Nice.
Because I'm a generous type.
I like that. If that's not it, what's the weirdest, non-bike kind of work you've done?
Oh God, that was by far the weirdest, I think, yeah. I turned up at this studio and there was 6 or 7 people in there taking the photos and stuff. I had to stand there naked. Some chick had to rub oil onto me to make me look better in the photos. While they sorted the lighting out. But it was for charity, so it was fine.
That's right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Invincibility.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. It'd be so good doing all this, knowing you could. There'd be so many more things I'd like to do and try and achieve if you weren't worried about writing yourself off.
All on bikes or
No,
other things?
everything.
Like what?
God, I'd be braver in a rally car.
Yeah, I know. Let's go with that. Is that something fun for you, or are you thinking career someday? I'm just assuming it's costing you money to do that.
The rallying.
Yeah,
yeah, it's just fun. Yeah, it's fun. I think that might have been what kind of triggered people asking about whether I was going to keep racing or not as well. Because for me, it hadn't even crossed my mind. I was just, I've always done other stuff like motorbikes or racing cars. I think I just love going fast and love that racing side of it. So, getting the opportunity to do that was just a kind of a cool opportunity.
Yeah. Hold on here. There goes your rally car. Is it tough? How do you practice that? And you have someone reading you notes, or you just foot in the floor and see what happens?
No, you've got to be a bit wise about it. It's an expensive sport if you're too brave.
Yeah.
But no, it's just something I do for fun. It's so good in Wales. It's there's a lot of places. It's quite accessible. You can there's a lot of places you can do it, and a lot of people that do it. So it was just something I've always watched and had to go at and tried my hand at a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fun. It's just a bit extra, and I'm not about to ditch the bikes and jump in a rally car. Start WRC for a season. God. It's just fun,
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you're right though. That's why people are like, oh, he's trying to race rally, so bikes might be going out the way.
Yeah, who knows? I guess people love a rumor, but that's not the case, I'm afraid.
Okay. Does anything keep you up at night?
Nothing I could tell you about.
Okay.
No, I don't
Cool.
know. You mean fears or
Yeah, anything laying in bed thinking about it? Are you thinking about season coming up? It sounds like you You got your shit in a pile pretty good right now, so.
No, there's always I'm not a very content person, you know.
Yeah.
I've never been the type of person that's happy with where they are and comfortable with how things are going, and I've never been a life's great type person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think us British typically we're not naturally like that, you know. I've always been someone that's kind of not comfortable with how things are and always want a bit more and always want things to go a bit better and always want a little bit more from, you know, how everything's going. Yeah. So yeah, I've always been like that, and I know I'm like that, you know. I give myself a hard time.
Yeah.
I don't think I never remember being in a race season just content and happy about how things were going and wanting things just to carry on like this.
So perfectionist kind of when it comes to that stuff?
Not perfectionist, no. Just always wanting more. Just always wanting kind of. I think I'm quite harsh on myself, quite critical of how I am, and I think me, Dan and Rach have always been like that, and we're always kind of thinking things need to go better and want to go faster and pushing for things to be different.
Yeah.
And I think that's always how I'm going to be, you know. I've never been one of these kind of sit back and be comfortable with how things are type people.
Yeah. What race are you looking forward to most? We'll wrap it up with that.
Fort William. Yeah, definitely Fort William. You know, there's the crowd there. There's the atmosphere there. It's kind of got this. It's got this unique feeling. It's like it's its own energy. You know, you turn up and you know you're at Fort William. The crowd's there to see people going fast. They're there from the very first time you're on your bike. You know, they're watching practice, they're watching training, they're watching qualifying, and you know that to do well there, you've got to conquer this mountain. It feels like, and to me, it's such an amazing feeling to be there and to be battling.
Yeah,
you know, that's what I love.
Cool. That wasn't the last question. Do you care that races are at the same venue over and over? Hear people talk about like Fort William's so boring now. Mount St. Anne, it's been 20 years. Like, do you wish there were new venues, or do you value the repeat venues too? No,
I wish there were new venues. You know, there's definitely a value to going back to these places. It's good to, you know, I think the season needs a mix of fresh venues and the classics. You know, if it's all one or the other, it doesn't work. But you know, you need this mix to keep the sport interesting and fresh. And you know, the thing that makes the sport is the fans and the people following it and the people watching it. So, you know, it's important that we keep it exciting for them and keep kind of pushing limits and trying new stuff. So, you know, for me, I'd like to see a mix of new things and the classic venues. So
okay.
If it can go that way, that would be amazing. And I think we all need to keep pushing to make sure it does.
Yeah. What's a song you listen to that people would be surprised by, or like music choice? We'll end with something like that.
What do I listen to before I race? Something quite chilled out. A Tribe Called Quest. I listen to that quite a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's sick.
I probably don't
That's
look like someone that listens
mellow.
to that.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, I try and just chill out before races.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Dude, pretty painless, right? Not too bad?
Nah, easy.
Anything? All right. I asked this one, and it usually doesn't go anywhere, but is there any question you wish you would be asked, but no one's ever asked it? Super random, I know, but like, I want to talk about this, but no one's ever asked.
Like a heartfelt subject no one's ever asked me about.
I don't know, anything. Maybe like turtles, I don't know.
No, you guys are you do a good job at picking our brains, so
dude,
I think you cover it well.
Thanks. Sven and those guys, like I said at the beginning, like, I feel like we've hung out for the last few years because Sven's at the races getting in your guys' faces.
Well, so I think the reason that the media guys have so much access to the riders is because, you know, when it's people like Sven and yourself and, you know, your people that we get on with and like hanging out with, it means you're just so much more comfortable with them. It doesn't feel like it's a media guy asking you questions, you know, it just feels like you're talking to friends. So I think they suddenly have so much more access to the riders when it's like that, you know. So I'd say you get quite a lot of information.
Cool.
Nothing that I've thought of that I want to say about.
Okay. Thanks, dude. You
All
guys
right,
can go shred now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sick. Dude, the Yaris, you want to rally the Yaris right there? Looks like it'd be a fun car, doesn't it?
Oh, look at it.
Huh? Yeah.
You've got the beaded, like, taxi man
I
things
do
on the
still.
seat as well. We got like dice and stuff hanging from them, man.
No dice. Not right now.
But like a beads with a cross on it.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, G.
No worries, man. My pleasure.
Looking forward to you smashing it.
Yeah.
Psyched.
I'm
Appreciate
looking forward to it too.
Thanks for tuning in to Vital MTB's The Inside Line podcast. Episodes drop every other Wednesday. Thanks to Jensen USA and Maxxis Tires for the support. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Vital MTB.